Hello guys, this is Raj Pakhare, and in this tutorial we'll be taking a look at thinking particles, and we'll try to achieve similar effect like this. Sorry for the lag in the video, it's because of the capturing, but you get the idea how we'll be working in the scene. So let's get started, and I'll create a box a little bit high, and change the color, name it as ground. So this will be my main object, which will be fractured. A little bit more high, a little bit wider. All right, and then we'll need point helper, which will activate the fragmentation. So as you move the pointer, the particles will be activated and then fall down. And what else we'll need? We need to animate the cracks. So in this case, what we can do is, in top view, I'll take a line and just draw zigzag curves. It depends on you how you want the cracks to be animated. So this will be just a rough path, and let's right click and yeah, I'll modify a little bit. It's up to you how you want. You can modify in the future also once you finish the setup, so everything is procedural. Now I'm gonna select my point helper and animation constraints, path constraint with line. So I can see it's animating. And okay, to fracture this, now this is just our activation path, but I want the fracturing also to be adaptive as per the path. So what I'll do is, first let's make a copy, and there's no path constraint in this. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go just place it above and turn on thickness and increase it. So now what this mesh will do is will divide the geometry, the box, only in these areas. So wherever the geometry is available, it will divide, it will fracture the mesh accordingly. So wherever I place this, it will fracture the mesh as per the path. So I'll name this as now let's say frac path. Okay, and this will be my path. Okay, so let's get started with thinking particles. System thinking, just click and modify properties. Okay, now let's figure out how many groups we'll need. So I'll just create some random groups and let's start naming it. One will be shape collision, which will be for dynamics. Second, forces like gravity. Then let's name this as static, and one more will be active. Okay, now in master dynamics, this will be my path, then shape collision, This can be forces, or you can just name it as gravity. And one more. This will be my activate group. Now let's start. So in my birth group, operator, generator, object to particle. So I want the ground to be a particle. So if you just pick this, select the ground, name that group into static, object to particle, shape instance, and hide that shape. So it's been absorbed into particle system, but we need to turn it on by clicking on show mesh. Okay. So we have this. Now gravity we can work on later. Let's start how we can fracture this. So fracture. Okay. Now right click operator will be using, oops, not this. Okay, so I'll create a position pawn. So I want to create particles in the path, so the volume breaker can activate accordingly. So I'll create a particle fracture. This is a new group, so the particles will be born in this group, fracture particles, and we'll need a node. So help us node and grab the path object. So it's my frac path. Right now the particles are born at that point, but I want to be born on that mesh. So for that we need position, surface position. So assign that node to this node and this position to this position one. And I can set it to face. And now you can see the particles are emitting from the mesh. Let's say crystal short, so I want it at once. The particles should appear there. More particles. And we don't want any speed. Lifespan can be, it will be visible all the time. Alright. And then we can just turn off edit on fly, so we can real time see the changes. So you can see I'm modifying the emitting distance, emitter distance, variation. That looks fine. Can you get some color? Okay. So these particles will fracture the geometry. They are in fracture particles group. Okay. Now let's go ahead and when you activate, we will be using volume breaker. It's really awesome operator. You have so much control in this operator. So what I'll be doing is, let's change the colors. I usually have a habit that I keep static objects red and active objects as green. And like this. So it will go into active group. And then this is my static group. You can see this is a static group, the box. So static, volume breaker. Now if you see, the box is already fractured, so we can increase the number of fracture count. Here you can see the volume breaker options are here, and if you go down, find volume breaker fracturing things. So just reduce the raster We are reducing the scale actually, and you can see more fragmentation. So we won't be using this because we don't want subdivision everywhere. We'll be using this position bound particles to drive the fracture. So wherever these particles are present, it will fracture the mesh accordingly as per the path. So I'll go and activate volume breaker and come down and select the fracture particles. So right away you can see wherever the mesh is, it has fractured the particles, the box, and let's hide that. I can see. So it's not necessary to divide the whole box into fragments. So wherever you want, you can just place the particles there and it will fracture accordingly. Now if I increase the number of particles, it will update the number of particle fracturing. You can see the more fragments are there. So it's very easy, just anytime you want to modify, if you want to increase the number of fragments, just increase the number of particles in position bound. That's all. And you can change it to none. Oops, I forgot the force setting. Now you can see individually I can select any group and display it as I want. Alright, so I'll create one more group. Dynamic. Wait a second. We can fragment activate. So I have renamed my activate group as frag.me. So what I want is whenever that helper will move, it will start activating the particles and the particles will be activated by the gravity and they'll fall down. So you can activate that by using use helper, pick and select the helper. Our helper's name is activator. If you just select the helper, there we go. So this is the activator. And let's scroll. Now it's starting to get a little heavy, but you can see it is activating. Now increase the threshold a little bit to see if it's working or not. Yeah, so it's working, but it's too much. Now let's reduce it. And yeah, so as you can see, the point helper is moving and it's activating the fragments into another group called as active. So that's why they're green. I'll reduce the threshold a little bit, it's too much. And let it process. Yeah, that looks fine. Yeah. So I'll increase it a little bit. Now if you increase the number of fragments, you can adjust this threshold accordingly. So you can see active group. I'll drag it in forces because I want the active group to be affected by gravity. So whatever is in the forces group will be affected by the gravity. And you can see alright. Actually, I should rename these groups. This is my detail groups, so you can add more extra details, like fragments will be fractured again, and oops, we already have a gravity group. So what I'll do is I'll just turn on forces group, and right now it's again calculating. So let's hold on a second. Okay, let's turn on edit on the fly, so it doesn't update at every frame. Okay, so operator, force, particle, and then we'll need a 0.3 helper. And we want the gravity to be in negative z, so -1, vector to direction. That's all. And strength 150. Later on we can modify these parameters. So let's see. So the green group should fall down. So yeah, you can see that it's been affected by the gravity. Okay, now let's reduce the number of particles. It's getting a little bit heavy, so we can increase the particle count later on. So as you can see, our volume breaker is activating the particles and shifting it to group active, and they have been affected by the force. Just keep on playing with the threshold value to get the desired result. Okay, so I'm gonna modify my box a little bit. I'm gonna increase the width, and I can hide it. And as you can see, it will update. Yeah, and that looks better. All right. So this basic setup is done. Okay. So right now you can see they are not dynamic. So we need to create a shape collision because they are not colliding with each other. So I'll drag this forces to shape collision. So whatever is in the shape collision group will be into dynamic group and they'll collide with each other. So shape collision, operator, shape collision, SC. And I'll just select my SC group, size as mass, and let's play. But you can see the whole box is falling down as it's in the shape collision. So I want to freeze it. So just turn on neutron for the static group. So it will stay in the place. As you can see, now they are colliding with each other. Now we got to modify some parameters. But they are right now in the dynamic group. So you can just select the active group and elasticity maybe 55, dynamic friction 20, static friction 10. Now let's play this again. Yeah, it's falling a little bit much faster than before. All right. Okay, so let's unhide our frag path. Now let's modify the bottom, because as we can see the particles are not falling down. So we need to activate more number of fragments at the bottom so it falls down easily. So let's scale this, increase the soft selection, and we can scale a bit more. Yes. And that's all. Hide it and update. As you can see, more fragments are there at the bottom, so it will help the fragments to fall down easily. As you can see, and with more number of fragments it will fall even more better. Right now they are big chunks.